My name is Claire, and for a long time I believed my marriage was collapsing because of another woman, because of secrets, because my husband no longer loved me. I had absolutely no idea that the truth, the real truth, had nothing to do with betrayal or loss of love, and everything to do with his shame. Shame so deep he preferred to destroy our relationship rather than admit something about his own body. If anyone had told me that a simple medical issue could nearly tear two people apart, I would have laughed. I used to think health problems were facts, realities you deal with as a couple, but I learned that the most dangerous illnesses are sometimes not the ones in the body, but the ones in the mind. The ones that whisper, "You're less of a man. Don't let her know. Hide it." The story began about a year ago. Mark and I had been married for 11 years. We had a routine life, quiet, stable, nothing extraordinary, but nothing disastrous either. I used to describe our relationship as comfortable, like an old sofa, not glamorous, but safe. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. Mark started avoiding me. Not emotionally at first, physically. He became distant in the bedroom. He kept inventing excuses, tired, stressed, busy headache, long day. At first, I believed him. Everyone has phases, but the excuses multiplied. Then they became walls. Then they became silence. He stopped touching me. He stopped kissing me goodnight. He even stopped undressing when I was in the room, something he had never cared about before. I thought, another woman. It has to be another woman, because what else could explain this? Why would the man who once couldn't keep his hands off me suddenly recoil when I placed my hand on his chest? Why would he flinch when I kissed his neck? Why would he constantly push me away? I began noticing other things. He guarded his phone more. He deleted messages. He stayed longer in the bathroom. He avoided eye contact. Every sign matched the classic symptoms of infidelity. I tortured myself with theories. I imagined a younger woman at his office, someone who made him feel alive again. I imagined messages full of passion. I imagined him giving to someone else what he refused to give to me. One night, after he turned his back to me in bed for the 6th night in a row, I whispered into the darkness, "Are you cheating on me?" He froze. I felt his body tense, but he didn't turn around. He didn't say a word. The silence was worse than any confession. I cried myself to sleep. Over the next months, Mark became irritable, distant, lost in his own head. He snapped at little things. He avoided conversations. He didn't laugh anymore. His smile disappeared. His confidence vanished. He looked smaller somehow, as if something was draining him from the inside. One Saturday morning, as he showered, I walked past the bathroom and my heart stopped. He was crying, softly, quietly, trying to cover the sound with running water. Mark never cried. I knocked gently, "Are you okay?" The water stopped. Silence. Then he answered, voice trembling, "Just leave me alone." That's when fear began replacing suspicion. Something was wrong. Something deeper than infidelity. Something he was hiding. But he refused to talk. Every attempt resulted in anger or withdrawal. "I'm fine." But he kept repeating, "I don't want to talk about it. Stop asking." I felt helpless. Our marriage felt like a house cracking from the inside, and I couldn't find where the cracks began. Then came the night everything exploded. We were having dinner, and I tried once more. "Mark, I feel like you don't want me anymore. I feel like I've lost you." He threw his fork down, stood up abruptly, and shouted, "You don't understand anything." Then he stormed off, slamming the door behind him. Slowly, I sat there shaking, tears burning my eyes, wondering what happened to the man I married. He didn't come home that night. When he returned in the morning, his eyes were swollen, his face exhausted. "I slept in the car," he said. I asked, "Why won't you tell me what's going on?" He whispered, "Because you'd never look at me the same." That sentence haunted me. Weeks passed. His behavior worsened. He avoided intimacy entirely. He flinched when I touched him. He even avoided sitting near me on the couch. I felt rejected as a woman, abandoned as a wife. One evening, he fell asleep on the sofa. His phone vibrated. A message from the clinic appeared. "Reminder, your urology appointment is tomorrow at 8:15. My heart pounded. Urology? Appointment? Why? I opened the email app. It wasn't password protected. And then I saw them. 7 missed appointments, all related to prostate exams. All marked, patient did not attend. A cold wave washed over me. That night when he woke up, I confronted him, softly. Mark, I know about the appointments. Why didn't you tell me? He looked terrified, real fear. His voice cracked. Because I was ashamed. Then the truth poured out of him, messy and broken. He had been having symptoms for months: difficulty urinating, night pain, fatigue, loss of libido, fearful stiffness in his lower abdomen. He Googled his symptoms, the worst mistake anyone can make, and convinced himself it was cancer. Deadly cancer, prostate cancer. And instead of telling me, he hid it. He refused to get tested. He refused to face the possibility. He kept postponing appointments because the idea of being examined, of admitting weakness, of confronting male fragility terrified him. I didn't want you to see me differently, he whispered. I didn't want you to think I wasn't a man anymore. I took his shaking hands in mine. Mark, I would never have loved you less. But shame is a prison. He thought that if he told me, I'd pity him. He thought that losing intimacy made him less masculine. He thought that illness was humiliation. In reality, his silence was killing us more than any disease. The next day, I went with him to the appointment. He was trembling. He squeezed my hand the entire time. I watched him face his fear like a wounded soldier walking into battle. After tests, the doctor came in. It's not cancer, he said with a gentle smile. It's prostatitis, an inflammation, painful, uncomfortable, but treatable. Mark burst into tears. Months of fear, shame, silence washed out of him in seconds. The treatment worked. Slowly, he recovered, physically, emotionally, mentally. But the real healing came from honesty. For the first time in years, we talked, really talked, about fear, about masculinity, about vulnerability, about the lies society teaches men, that being sick makes them weak, that asking for help makes them less. He apologized for shutting me out. I apologized for assuming infidelity instead of seeing his pain. Our marriage didn't just survive, it transformed. We became closer than ever before. More honest, more gentle, more real. And I learned something powerful. A man's silence is not always a sign of betrayal. Sometimes it is a cry for help he does not know how to voice. Today, when I look at Mark, I see the bravest man I know, not because he is strong, but because he finally allowed himself to be vulnerable. And vulnerability saved us.